just need to focus. Autofocus. I just saw a good close of my ear. All right, is anybody here? Let me type because I can't tell. Hello, world. Anyone out there? Okay, Suzuki Science. Wild Wednesdays, number 3. Maybe I know what I'm doing. I'm talking to myself currently. Oh, there are, yes, at least 2 people. Yay, all right. Yes, it's Wednesday. Happy Earth Day, April 22nd, 2020. Some of you in your classes may have noticed that Mr. Desange posted up a link that we shared among many of our classes to grab a picture of something you're doing related to, celebrating what a wonderful place the Earth is. And if you want to post that up on the Padlet, that would be perfect. The one thing that this live thing does not do, it does show the number of people who are attending, and there are 2 of us. So we can have a conversation. Do you have a question that you want to ask me, Kirkpatrick, or April, or Michael, since there's only the 3 of us at the moment? Before I start, I will start. I have a little bit of, I actually have a plan today. In the past 2 Wednesdays, I kind of came down here. The first day I was kind of surprised it worked, and off we went. The second day, it didn't work initially, and so I kind of scrambled. And this time, because of what we talked about in grade 11 biology, there's some things I would really want to connect to. I'm here too. Hey, Zara. So I'm asking the 4 of you who are here with me specifically, do you have any questions that you want to ask me? I guess I have a question. Can you hear me and see me clearly? Is that a yes? Yes. Michael said yes before. Oh, we were saying yes to my question. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you and see clear perfectly. All right, I'm gonna get started because I'm not gonna run this the whole afternoon, and I would like to share information. I want to encourage you to ask questions. So the first 2 animals I'm going to look at today is really kind of exploring something called convergent evolution. This first animal is sitting in this tank. I didn't pull him out last time, and for anyone at Suzuki, you've seen Thor many times. Thor is a classic European glass lizard. There's other names that they use to describe him as well. There, okay, good. And what you'll notice first about Thor as a lizard is that most people, when they look at him, they don't see a lizard. So I'm going to open up the door here so we can get this camera kind of on me. Good. Thor, people say he's grumpy, right? We talked about Thor in the previous one. So he sees me coming, he sees my hand. I don't really want him to get hurt, so I kind of want a different angle here. All right, so this is Thor. And Thor is a glass lizard. But when most people see a glass lizard, what they're seeing is a snake. They think, oh, look, he has no legs. Can you zoom back out for me? Perfect. He has no legs. Now, glass lizards have a certain temperament in that they tend to be, when most people attribute human traits to animals, it tends to be a little bit more, we'll say, aggressive, right? And if you put your hand in a certain spot, yes, Thor is capable of biting you. But it's not that he's trying to hurt you. In a sense, he's just trying to protect himself and escape. If you handle many animals, especially this glass lizard, on a regular basis, they'll get more comfortable with being handled. If I didn't handle him on a regular basis, then he would be more likely to be doing a lot of that squirming that you're seeing every once in a while, right? So take a look. I'm going to compare Thor here specifically to a snake. I want you to see if you can see what the difference is between Thor and a snake. One of the first things you might see about Thor that's really different is this lateral groove. He's got this armor kind of skin, I'm going to call it. And these scales, there's kind of an arm on the top, it's kind of like an armor on the bottom, and they're separated by this lateral groove. And you can see him when he's breathing or eating, you'll see that it actually expands. And you probably can't hear him. I'll bring him close to the mic, but when he's upset, I guess we'll call it, or a little agitated, he'll make this kind of huffing sound, like a little bit of a hissing sound. Now, moves incredibly. So this idea of this reptile being legless, we assume that that's kind of the feature of a snake. So I'm going to pull out a snake momentarily, and I can't pull them out at the same time because I don't want them to, attack each other. But I want you to take a very close look at Thor. And I'm going to just kind of cover the rest of his body. I just want you to kind of look at his head. Can you hit the autofocus again for me, please? Autofocus. It's on those buttons on the right-hand side. Yeah, there you go. So when you look at just his head, try to get him in focus here. You look at just his head, you'll notice that if you couldn't see the rest of his body, many of you would probably say, oh, that's a lizard. Because even though you don't know what the features are of a lizard, you probably recognize them. So I'll give you some clues here. They include the eyes. There's something about the eyes that are very different. So hopefully you'll be able to see that when I pull the snake out. Can you zoom in again? Good. Any more? That's good, right there. All right, so you can look at the eyes here. Hit the autofocus one more time. One more time, autofocus. Okay, so I can't get them really clear on this camera here, but if you look at the eyes, there's something special about the eyes I want you to notice that's different about him versus the snake. And the ears. I want you to notice something about the ears as well. He's shedding, so there's a lot of skin right around where his ears are, kind of where his jaw meets his face. So this is Thor. Now what's interesting is glass lizards have this ability, it's something called autotomy, where they're able to lose their tail like many lizards are. Can you zoom back out? And to lose his tail, there's basically we'll call it like a fault line, and it's able to constrict its muscles right where its body ends and its tail begins. One of the other major differences you'll notice about lizards versus snakes is that most of his, like a lot of his body here, it's actually, his body ends here. And everything else after that is tail. Right? So he has a relatively short body and a long tail. And his body, you can tell typically because it's encapsulated with ribs. So ribs protect the organs on the inside here. Right, so I'm going to put Thor back in. I'm going to grab one of the snakes so we can actually take a look at this. So they are both reptiles, so they do have a common ancestor, but lizards we typically associate with having legs. And if we take a look, again, I'm not sure we can see it on this camera here, he does have those little buds right here. These are the vestigial legs right here. And that's something you would not see on a snake. Okay, let's put Thor back in here. I'm gonna get Milkshake. Put the camera here. Milkshake. Milkshake's been sitting here waiting. I'm gonna feed her today, so this will be a little unusual. I don't normally handle her before I feed her. But we haven't had a chance to play with Milkshake for the past couple of Wednesdays, so let's get Milkshake out here. And I'll come back on camera so I can see what's going on. And here's Milkshake. So Milkshake is a snake. She is not the same reptile class as Thor. She is a Honduran milk snake. We have milk snakes in Ontario, but not nearly this big. She is an albinomorph, so she's missing one of her colors. So this white that you see here is not supposed to be there. There's supposed to be a color here. And so I want you to start looking at some of the characteristics of her body. If you look at her head, you'll see that she has a very different style head. If I held her head and tried to hide it, you would not think that she was a lizard. You'd think, okay, she's a snake. So what is it about her head shape that allows you to know that she's a snake versus a lizard? If you look at her eyes, I don't remember if you remember Thor's eyes. We could see them all that well. But her eyes, what are they missing? If a snake and a glass lizard were to battle, who would win? It depends on what snake and what glass lizard we're talking about. Lizards and snakes. So one of the things that snakes are able to do is they're able to open their mouth quite large, and they tend to eat very large prey. Sometimes the prey that they eat is larger than the snake's circumference. And how they're able to do that is, anyways, one of the features that a snake does. Whereas in a lizard, lizards take small prey. Most lizards, especially glass lizards, they take small prey and they eat frequently. So they eat like every day. Whereas in the snake here will eat once a week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, depending on the situation. So realistically, the snake most likely would have a better opportunity of taking out a glass lizard, I would say. There is a lizard called Burton's legless lizard, which also looks like a glass lizard, but it's much more aggressive, and it is known to take prey that is bigger than itself and swallow it whole, very similar to like a snake would. So if you look at the eyes, you'll notice she has no eyelids. And you'll also notice on the bottom, she doesn't have the same kind of armor that the glass lizard has. She's very curious, right? She's very curious. She likes moving around a lot. Okay. And the last thing you'll notice around her head is you won't see any ears. If I can get her head up here, you won't see any ears like the lizard had. Now, I'm not sure I can zoom in on her whole body here, but with a snake, so when we look at Thor, most of his body was actually body most of his body was, well, I guess half the body was body and half the body was tail. With the snake, most of its body is actually body. And its tail, snakes do have a tail, so it's a part that's not surrounded by the rib cage, and you can kind of see it here. It actually looks a little bit different if we can get it on camera. Its tail is very short. So it's got a very short tail. So everything above my right hand here, all that is body with a very short tail. That's another typical characteristic of snakes. They tend to have a very long body with a very short tail. Right? So I'm going to put Milkshake back in the tank. I'm going to feed her today because today she's her feeding day. You have any questions about Milkshake before? Which would win it in a race? That's an excellent question. I had to put them side by side. I don't know which one moves faster. I would think Milkshake, based on her size, can move faster and win that race. Anything else? Do the tails fall off and grow back? With the snakes, so snakes do not lose their tails. There's always an exception, right? There's always some animal somewhere in that classification that seems to buck the trend. But generally speaking, snails, true snakes, do not lose their tails. Lizards, on the other hand, quite a few of them can lose their tails. And when they lose their tails, they can typically grow them back. They typically won't have the same color. They typically will be a bit smaller, but they can regrow their tails in most cases. And you see that very often with geckos as well as legless lizards. Can you do me a favor? Can you get the rat that's in the long drawer? Excellent. I have to cool it down. All right, I know I'm off camera, so I guess I'll keep on talking. I did forget to bring the rat down. So that's going now, and it might be a little warm, so I did warm it up a bit. There's Pebbles there. Going to get some water. Just came out. Okay, so the next one I wanted to show today, as I mentioned, I did want to feed the chameleon so you guys can see what the chameleon look like. But just before I get there, why don't I take out the turtles? So last week we got a chance to see Pebbles, who's a tortoise, and tortoises and turtles actually do belong to the same class. So they're very much related. Unlike lizards and snakes, which are both reptiles, they belong to different classes. Turtles and tortoises, we differentiate them mostly based on where they live and a little bit about their body type. So there's Pebbles there, but I'm going to get one of the tortoises. I'm going to get whichever one I can happen to get my hand on a little more easily. I'll turn the camera over here. Hopefully you can see them both there. And it's hard for me to get my hand in here totally. Look at the middle. There we go. All right, so there's Tsunami. So So tsunami, I normally don't handle tsunami. I know that stay in the water, be fine. So tsunami here. Is it too hot? So tsunami here is a turtle, a red-eared slider. So you can look at his ear area, and you can see that his ears have that kind of reddish mark. And if you look at his feet, if you remember Pebbles had feet that were designed to move. They're sturdy and stubby, and they allowed him to move easily on land. Whereas in this turtle here, if you look at his feet, they have long claws. They're kind of paddle-like, so it allows them to move more easily in the water. If I were to pull the female out, you'd see that her legs, like if you're trying to look at the difference between a male and a female, if you're trying to look at the difference between a male and a female, maybe I'll see if you guys can tell me what that difference is. Right? Part of it, you have to look at the hind legs. So if you look at the hind legs, but she's not really going to pull out for us because this is not really his environment. He's kind of turtling, is what we call it. But you can see a big difference. Do you want me to pull her out, or can you pull her out? Okay. Let me just pull them out. I'll put them out kind of side by side. Pass me stool. So I'm going to pull the female just so you can see them both side by side. I know I'm off camera, so I'll just keep on talking, let you know I'm here. And oh, she's bigger. All right. So I'm definitely going to have to wash my hands when I'm done. We always do that whenever handling animals. So these two are the same age. So when you look at their size, can you bring the camera and just put them over on top so you can see the top down view? So I want you to look at their relative size. They're both the same age. And if you look at their size here, you'll see that the female, Bubbles, is quite a bit larger than Tsunami. Quite a bit larger. It's kind of hard to get the camera angle here. And you probably can't tell that well on the camera. And the other thing you'll notice as a difference is the male tends to be a little more active and more aggressive. She tends to be a little bit more calm as part of her personality. And if you can see at the back legs as well, you can see from the leg structure that there's something different happening with the legs of the male versus the female. And so when you're trying to tell the difference, often looking at the legs is a telltale. And if you can see, if you know their relative ages, and one's larger than the other one, the female is typically much larger than the male. All right. So she's laid a few eggs, none of which we've saved. Interesting thing about these turtles, one of the behaviors that they've shown us late in nighttime is during the day they eat kind of vegetarian turtle food, some leaves and the pellets that we feed them. But right at dusk, when you turn the light on, if you turn the light on after the sun sets, then she goes carnivorous. She immediately starts chasing the fish that are in the tank, and then she starts trying to eat them. Most of the fish are too fast for her, but every once in a while she'll catch one. And I find it very interesting how that behavior seems to be associated with the time of day, because she doesn't eat the fish during the day, and she doesn't eat them during night, only when the light's turned on at nighttime. Any questions about these turtles? Who'd win a race, the male or a female? I have never watched them move on land. In the water, their tank's actually not large enough. Generally speaking, I'm going to say the larger animal is going to be able to move more quickly, but the male is the one that tends to move around much more than the female. Would a tortoise float or sink in the water? Sink. Definitely sink. Right. And do the tails fall off? Okay, that's a question. All right, so I'm going to put these two turtles back in the water where they want to be. One. And look at that jaw. She really wants to bite somebody. There we go. There's two. All right, next we're going to feed the chameleons. We want to the chameleon and see if we can watch them stick their tongue out and eat. So there you can just point the camera at me so everyone can see what I'm doing at the same time. And I will look for the cricket container. Do you know what any of them are? I don't see any of the cricket containers, so I'll use this one. So we'll use special containers to hold the crickets so that makes it a little easier to feed the animals. So I'm going to use this container here. So we have this bin full of crickets. All right, so I just took these 8 cartons. Crickets like to have places to hide. So I just took the bottom of it where there's lots of crickets and I banged them into this container here. We have this supplement that we use to put on the crickets. I mentioned this before. Don't put much on. Shake it up, shake and bake here. And I'm going to go to the large circulars, to Lash and Twig, and we're going to see the meat. All right, so let's make sure the camera's shining on the tank well. It's good. Just gonna look at the screen here. Okay, so we're going to see Lash here. So I'm going to put some crickets on. And then we follow the camera, pick up the camera a bit so that we can watch her. You guys see that tongue stick out? Should we grab one? We'll zoom in here. So go for another in just a moment. She ate one. And you can see her, she's a hunter. Right? So you probably saw that tongue. Did you see that tongue come out? See her grab that other cricket? She's grabbing crickets that are really close to her, so her tongue's not going out that far, but I mean, compared to us, it's going out really far. And once she has all the crickets that are really close to her, she'll start hunting in the environment and picking out crickets that are much lower down, typically. Out to the male at the same time here. Because he's looking at those crickets being eaten by her, and he's like, where are mine? That's what he's thinking. So let's bring the whole camera here. It's on the side, so you can't see him as well. So you can see him. Next thing I can see him. Yeah, so I'm going to dump these crickets in here. Make sure you can see. He'll do the same thing. You can see the crickets crawling around. Unless he just looks at me. Just eyeing them. Hunting a little. I'll see one in the distance. I'll get right in the right position. You'll probably wonder, like you'll be looking at a cricket, you'll see another cricket come really close, but typically they have like, attention on a single cricket and they kind of hunt it down despite another cricket crawling past or crawling on them or whatnot. They kind of miss out on those opportunities. Oops. Is there a reason why you keep them in separate tanks? And how many crickets does she eat a day? So we probably put in, 10 crickets a day maybe, Dan? Probably about 10 crickets a day or so. Depending on the size of the crickets, depending on the size of the chameleon, they can eat anywhere from, 5 to 20 crickets. And the reason why we keep them in separate tanks is to give them their own safe environment. I don't know if you saw him eat. He just ate one. Kind of see if I can zoom in a bit more. His head here. And that light kind of makes it hard to get a good focus on him. Depending on the time of year, sometimes all the male will do is just keep on trying to make babies with the female, and then it gets stressful for the female, and so it's not a good environment for her. These two chameleons were trying to breed, so we have put them in the same tank. They're not brother and sister, but for some reason they act like it. They just seem to have no interest in making chameleon babies. So We do leave them in the same tank sometimes, and we're getting to that time of year where we'll probably do it again. But having their own place and they're not bothering each other is good. If we had males, they absolutely have to be in different tanks, and we'd have to probably separate so they couldn't see each other because then they'd be really stressed. And any other questions about the chameleons? No. Okay, so let's see if Twig takes another cricket here, and if it doesn't, I'm just going to show you amoeba. So amoeba is another lizard. The amoeba lizard is very, what's the right word? Antsy, stressed. It just moves. It's a very difficult lizard to like. You see me handle the chameleons. You see me handle the turtles. You see me handle Thor even. You haven't watched me handle the basilisk, but I could. The amoeba is completely different. So it looks like he's just going to observe, not actually eating anymore. So I don't know if you got a chance to see him eat. The basilisk. Sitting in her spot here. I'm going to feed her as well. And now I want to show you the amoeba. Okay, so the amoeba is a little harder to see. So if you can pass me the stool, Darian. Here's good. All these tables in the way too. These tables up here. There's more room. So there's the amoeba. I can't see the screen, so they need to tell me if I'm on to. That's the amoeba. And this one here, very quick lizard. So for those of you who are down in Florida and you see those geckos all the time, this is what you'll see. A lizard that's moving very quickly. It's not a gecko. Not because of the gecko. So you can see how quickly this one's breathing. You see its belly going up and down very quickly. It's a very quick lizard. So whenever I go to change anything in here, it just goes. Right. It tries to escape, find a place that's safe. And it does. It has a place that's behind the background and it hangs back there. Okay, the last thing I'll do here is I'm going to feed Milkshake. So Milkshake needs to be fed. I'm going to feed Milkshake, so Dan's got the camera there. I'm going to open this up, get everything nice and close so we can see. So this is my room. Darian, let me know when we're good. On the tank. Now it's good. Okay, so I don't know if Milkshake can see a rat form from over here because she's really agitated. She's hungry. So now I'm going to put the rat back. Oops, I dumped the rat in the water by mistake. So now we got a wet rat. Hopefully you guys can see what's going on. Just going to move the rat away a little bit. You see her tensing just like Heidi did last week. So we mean by a large meal. So she eats a large meal infrequently, once a week at the most. Whereas in Thor eats every single day, chasing those crickets down. appears to be following the rat. I think she wants it, but I can't force her to eat now. So if she's not ready to eat, then she won't. So she's kind of following around. All right. So hopefully you saw that. She took it properly. That jaw's right around the head. She'll take the next. She eats much faster than Hydra. Hydra last week took about 15, 20 minutes to get the snake, to get the rat all the way inside of him. She'll be done this inside her body within 5. So she's much, much quicker. Okay, so I think that's it for Wild Wednesday today, unless you guys have any specific questions that I might have missed. Let's see what you guys have on here to say to me. Who would win in a race? How many crickets? Is there a reason? So there are no additional questions that you guys have for me? 6 of us that are in here today. I'll try to see if I can zoom in a little bit more so you guys can get a chance to see her actually eating here. It's a little hard to get this focus just right.